strenuous. Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council in regular session. It is Monday, December 18th, 2023, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Reed.
Here.
Councilor Husband.
Here.
Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Starr.
Here.
Councilor Cross.
Here.
Councilor Duran.
Councilor Duran is excused this evening.
Youth Councilor Woodard.
Here.
Thank you very much. If you are able, please rise and all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. It's a very festive evening around here with all sorts of wonderful headgear and holiday cheer. So thank you all for joining us this evening. We will go now to committee reports, and we'll lead off with Lisa Sajeka to talk to us about the parks.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. It's so nice to be here on the meeting before Christmas. Our parks meeting was last Tuesday, and did I say my name? I did not say my name. My name is Lisa Sajeka, and I'm the vice chair of the Parks Board. I wasn't expecting to give this. Being the backup who's always at the meetings means you get to see me probably far more than you want to.
Always welcome.
Our parks meeting was really a fairly quick one this year, or this last month, because we didn't have tons to talk about. We talked a little bit about the docks being removed from Keizer Rapids Park. I was really lucky and was there when it happened. So I took all these pictures, and all the public works guys thought that I was hilarious for being excited about being there on dock day. A few of the parks have been hit pretty heavily with new graffiti. And this is an unknown to us graffiti. It was red, different symbols, and it was repainted very, very quickly at Willamette Manor Park, and I'm sure at Claggett as well. I do know that Willamette Manor was hit again probably Saturday. It's on the pump house. But I saw the Public Works guy there again today, and we talked about lovely, lovely things. So, and then the other thing is that the 9 members of the Parks Board, we every year switch up the parks that we report back to the board about. So we all switched up our parks. And so we're just really looking forward to a year full of turf fields and new things, not a lot of graffiti. We're looking forward to having good news to share about our wonderful parks. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. It's just a really short report.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the members of the Parks Board for what you do. The Parks is one of our most outward-facing parts of what we do as a city, and someplace that we all love to go. Speaking of the graffiti, though, I'm looking at Chief and Mr. Lawyer. Do you have any follow-up comments on what's happening with our parks and public facilities with graffiti? I know it's, who wants the bad news?
About the only thing I really have to say, it just takes a lot of time. And it's just an ongoing battle that the guys are facing almost on a daily basis. As was mentioned, Willamette Manor Pump Station was hit last week. Got that painted over and come to work this morning, and it happened again this weekend. So
Yeah.
painted over it again. Just an ongoing time suck, I'll just say.
Yeah. Thank you. Chief?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just in addition to that, we've contacted our patrol guys, let them know of the issue, and they are doing area checks in parks when they can. It's really hard to catch people dressed in dark clothing when they're about to tag in the middle of the night. A lot of places to run and hide, so we try, but we catch them every once in a while, and then we'll eventually probably catch these people, identify them, and then we can go back and keep track of time and have them reimbursed later, hopefully.
Thank you. Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know that in Mr. Brown's weekend update, he talked about exploring options on the camera project. So, I don't even know how to ask this without sounding impatient. But this has been on the agenda or on kind of the work plan or the work project list now for, I think I asked about it in April of 2022. So how much longer is it going to be, considering that it's December 2023?
Mr. Wood?
I don't know who wants to, the lucky one, to answer that.
Madam Mayor, City Council, at this point in time, we did get some cost figures for the first go-around and realized that it was probably out of our price range. So we were looking at alternate sources for a lot of the components for the project. So that's where we're at right now. We're just waiting for some additional quotes to come in.
Okay, so let me maybe clarify what I was asking. How much longer is it going to be?
I don't have an answer for you, I'm sorry.
Can we get an estimated time frame? Because I think that will be a big help in addressing this issue. So I would love to get a time frame on that, if possible, and how fast we can wrap up this project.
Okay, we can work on
Thank
that.
As a follow-up, if we could get the range of the costs that we're looking at to come into our long-range planning task force, because one of the things that will help the task force understand is the cost of adding a new component to our parks and public safety. And that way we can have that conversation about what it costs and how we are going to address meeting those costs.
We can definitely do that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and have a very happy holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Anybody else here for a committee report that did not sign in? Okay, thank you very much. All right, we will go now to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have 3 public hearings scheduled this evening, actually 2. One is 2 resolutions for authorization for supplemental budget, and the second is an ordinance declaring a lien against property located at 4843 Juniper Court North. So if you're here for that, stay tuned. Other than that, we do have one written comment, and that is from Jim Keller, Keizer resident, submitted a letter regarding voting on fees for service. So that will be entered into the record. And I don't have anybody signed up for public comment, but actually I would ask the council's indulgence to make a public comment. At the last council meeting, I questioned the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, Corey Filardo, in a manner that was not in keeping with our agreed tone and approach to public interaction. We have a value of treating all people with dignity and respect, and the way in which I approached that, the issues were not in keeping with that. I have met with Ms. Filardo, and we've had a very wonderful conversation. But because this happened in a public setting, I want to also apologize to the council and community for not modeling the behavior that I and the rest of the council have agreed to abide by in all of our proceedings. So I want to make that statement, and thank you all for your grace as we move forward into the new year. Thank you very much. All right, we will now, anybody here for public comment that didn't sign up? Yes, ma'am, come on forward. If you just give your name and city of residence for the record.
All right. Good evening. My name is Judy Leishty. I live here in Keizer, and I'm here representing the Keizer Community Food Bank. Just to kind of give you all an update on what our operations have been like for about the past 6 months. We are now serving twice as many families as we were 1 year ago. Tonight, we served almost 120 families. Our Thanksgiving giveaway last month, we served 350 families with that, and we probably could have served at least another 100 if we had had the food available. And for our Thanksgiving giveaway, the food bank spent $8,500 of our own money for the Thanksgiving boxes. So that's mainly what I wanted to say. Any questions?
No questions, but thank you, and thank you to all the people who have been donating to make it possible for being able to purchase and to also donate food directly to you to make it possible to serve our families.
Yes,
Thank you.
I do appreciate, I should mention that, I appreciate our regular donors, and we have about less than 2 weeks before the end of the year for any tax write-offs. So you can call me at the food bank, and I'll be happy to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
All right, thanks.
Oh, did you have a question? I'm sorry, I missed. Counselor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do you still have a need for grocery bags and those kind of things?
Oh, yeah. Grocery bags, boxes, we need them constantly, yes.
So just bring those by.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people responded to your post on Facebook going, I've got them. So hopefully you will
And we
be
had several of them dropped off tonight, so that was very much appreciated.
excellent. Thank you very much. So the place that people should drop it off is?
At Faith Lutheran Church, we are located 4505 River Road. That is across the street from Arby's.
And are there particular hours they should drop those off?
Yeah, Mondays and Wednesdays, noon to 2 are the best times.
Okay, Monday, Wednesday, and a great way to recycle for all of us who have been doing our shopping and didn't remember to take your reusable bag and came home with a bag. Now you can repurpose it.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, and Merry Christmas, y'all.
You too. Anybody else for public comment? Okay, we'll go to public hearings. And the first up is open a public hearing on a resolution authorization for a supplemental budget, street lighting district fund, and resolution authorization for a supplemental budget, water fund, and water facility fund. Mr. Wood.
Madam Mayor, City Council, I think we're probably setting a record tonight. This is the longest into a fiscal year that we've ever gone without doing a supplemental budget. So I guess it's been a slow year for me this year. Tonight we have two adjustments that we're considering. The first one is our street lighting district fund. For this one, we were made aware of an increase in rates by PGE. It was also reminded to me that there was a rate increase for Salem Electric. Typically, Salem Electric isn't a big significant part of the street lighting district fund, so it can kind of pass by on our radar. But anyway, the adjustment for tonight is to recognize $25,000 of prior year savings, appropriate that amount into electrical costs. In addition, transfer $25,000 from contingency to operating expenses for the increased electrical costs. The PGE increase is expected to be about $35,000 for the year. The Salem Electric is about $6,000 for the year. And we have about $9,000 of cushion in case something goes sideways on us the rest of the year. As a reminder, this is a pass-through fund. The city fronts the dollars to pay the electrical costs the first year, and then those dollars the actual dollars get assessed the second year on people's property tax statements for those that reside within the property tax area. The second adjustment is kind of an oops on my part. For some reason, the final water budget didn't quite make it to the final adopted budget. This is a cleanup entry to get everything in the right buckets. This is to recognize $69,000 of prior year savings and appropriate those dollars, in addition to reducing the transfers out in the water fund because we don't need to transfer that much money out. The combined appropriations there will be reclassified into the materials and services line item and also the capital outlay line item. Those are the two entries. Nothing really too exciting about them this time. With that, city staff does recommend that you adopt both of the resolutions. And with that, if you have any additional questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Mr. Wood? Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Wood, this is more just for my own education. What is the I guess the reasoning behind adopting the supplemental budget now versus waiting till later in the budget year to have a better idea of what the transfers would need to be?
Oh, sure. Good question. With respect to the transfers in the water facility fund, the Public Works Director and I just identify what kind of capital projects we're going to be doing in the year. And we typically know those before the year starts. So there's no reason to wait. There's no reason to, and we could basically do those at any time between now and the end of the year. In general, I typically like to save up a couple adjustments before I come. I just don't want to litter the city council's agenda with a lot of financial things that, typically these are a lot more administrative than really policy related.
Follow up?
Thank you. But I mean, so I'm looking more at the street lighting district fund. What is the reasoning for doing it now when we haven't realized the increase yet? If it doesn't happen until January 1, why are we doing it now versus waiting until like May when we might have a better idea of what that increase looks like?
Sure, we could do it either time. Right now, it seemed like we had a fairly light agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Cross?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Wood, I just kind of need you to clarify. So today we were emailing back and forth and of course have a lot of questions because I haven't sat through this supplemental budget. But earlier you hadn't spoke to Salem Electric, but now you think it might be 6,000?
Correct, yes. After your prompting, I did a little math this afternoon.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right. I do not have anybody signed up to testify under this public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this matter? You're invited to raise your hand and come on up. Okay. There are no comments. Anything further from council before I close the public hearing? Public hearing is now closed. Council President Starr.
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R2023, authorization for supplemental budget for the Street Lighting District Fund. And
Do you want to do?
do you want to do them one at a time?
I would suggest one at a time.
Okay, great.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, authorization for supplemental budget, Street Lighting District Fund. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Council President Starr.
And I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R2023, authorization for supplemental budget for the Water Fund and Water Facility Fund.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, authorization for supplemental budget, Water Fund and Water Facility Fund. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. All right, I will now open a public hearing for an ordinance declaring a lien against property located at 4843 Juniper Court North, Keizer, Oregon, and directing the city recorder to enter such lien into the minor lien docket pursuant to ordinance number 2009-590, providing for the control and removal of noxious vegetation, declaring an emergency. And this goes to Mr. Witham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. So before you tonight is exactly what you just said. We had a code enforcement action at the property at 4843 Juniper that ultimately resulted in the city needing to step in and abate the nuisance, which was cutting grass and weeds and blackberries. And the noxious vegetation ordinance requires that we come to council when those overall costs exceed $1,000. And in this case, the costs were $1,254 for the abatement portion. One thing I did want to point out, and I apologize, I don't know that it's really an error, but there could be some room for confusion. The ordinance that attached has Exhibit A, which is the correct statement of costs, and that total is $1,327. Because what wasn't accounted for in the staff report when I wrote it, because I didn't know the number yet, was the $73 for publishing, for the posting, which also gets captured. So while the fiscal impact to the city was $1,254 for the fees we paid to the contractor that cleaned it up, and the 10% administrative overhead that we charge by ordinance did not account for the $73 on the posting, because that had not actually happened yet when we prepared that statement. So that is the one little thing I wanted to point out to maybe head off a question before it happened, because when I read it, I was like, should have changed that number in there. So with that being said, I'm open to trying to answer any questions you might have. This is kind of just a general process thing that we have to do for abatements when they're over $1,000. So we are recommending that council pass the ordinance that's attached so that the city is able to recapture those costs in the future.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report or the ordinance? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is there a rate of interest that's charged for that until it's paid?
Yeah, on the lien docket, it's a 9% per annum is what the ordinance says. So
Perfect, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, I have signed up to testify Naomi and Frank Rodriguez. All right.
Hello.
Hi, and you're here to talk about this?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
You called my name. No, I'm not here to talk about that.
Oh, okay. So were you thinking you were signing up for public comment?
I thought I was signing up just to, I guess, public comment,
Okay, so
but not on this.
not on this. So press pause. I will circle back to public comment and call you up at that
I
point.
apologize.
Hey, no worries. It can be confusing when you're signing in. Gotcha. Okay. Perfect. Anyone who would like to address the council on the lien against property at 4843 Juniper Court? Okay, seeing none. And councilors, anything else before I close the public hearing? The public hearing is now closed. Council President Starr.
I move the Keizer City Council adopt ordinance 2023, declaring a lien against property located at 4843 Juniper Court North, Keizer, Oregon, and directing the city recorder to enter such lien in the minor lien docket pursuant to ordinance number 2009-590, providing for the control and removal of noxious vegetation and declaring an emergency.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt ordinance 2023, declaring a lien against property located at 4843 Juniper Court North, Keizer, Oregon, and directing the city recorder to enter such lien into the minor lien docket pursuant to ordinance number 2009-590, providing for the control and removal of noxious vegetation, declaring an emergency. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. That does conclude our public hearings for this evening, so I will now circle back to public comment. Come on down to the Rodriguez. Yes. Sorry for the confusion.
No, that was obviously, I didn't know what I signed.
No worries. So if you just, as you get up here, state your name and your city of residence for the record.
I'm
You have
Naomi
5 minutes.
Rodriguez.
Okay, right into the microphone if you would,
I'm
please.
Naomi Rodriguez.
Okay.
Frank Rodriguez.
All right.
We live in Keizer. We live on Claggett Street.
Okay.
We've lived there about 35 years. My concern is trying to figure out, our concern, I have a couple neighbors here. The flooding is really bad on Claggett Creek. I mean, it's extreme like it's never been. So I'm trying to figure out what resolution there is. I had, I believe, Kerry Blaylock, is that right? He came out and looked, and it's not unusual. We're in a flood zone, so flooding is not unusual. However, the flooding is a lot worse, faster. Excuse me. And so he was letting me know that the city of Keizer is not responsible. It's not their, they don't have the power to do anything. And he referred me to the Division of State Lands. So I contacted them, and they said it's not their responsibility. So they referred me to Marion County Floodplain Program, but that actually is just to try to get a permit to put in a berm or something. So I don't really know who's responsible, but right now, the creek is flooding at least a third of our property. And I think on like 2 weeks ago when we had some pretty good rain, but it's not like, it wasn't bad rain, but we had 5 properties that flooded way, way up. I mean, way up, like we've never seen. One of the neighbors back here, his pool deck was underwater. It's never flooded that way, that high. And so, you know, and then of course there was the sewage spill from the apartments up there on Berta, is my understanding, or what the article said. So I just don't know where else to go. We had, a couple years ago when we had the ice storm, there was a lot of damage to Claggett Creek, a lot of trees down, things like that. I've talked to the gal with the Watershed Council that walks the area there, and I just don't, there's no resolution, but there's no, in our area of Claggett Creek, they're on Claggett, there's no defined creek any longer. It simply just goes. So I don't know who to turn to do anything, but it's really bad. I've got a video on here the flooding is just like it's never been, and we've lived there 35 years, so we're familiar with the flooding, you know, but not to this extent. So I don't know who's responsible, who to go to, who to ask.
Well, let's see what we can figure out here, and probably the conversations will continue with Mr. Lawyer. I'm looking at you.
I've talked to Bill earlier. I know, I just don't want to say, Bill, figure it out. But it really is a concern, because it really has gotten bad. It's way worse than it ever has been. And that's why I had the neighbors come in, because they've never flooded like this before. Our property always floods right on that end. But, and when Mr. Blaylock came out, he assumed it was a beaver dam, because that's been, over the years, that's been really common, the beavers build a dam, but there's no beavers back there anymore. The coyotes have eaten all of the wildlife back there, so there's nothing alive in the Claggett Creek anymore in our area, nothing but coyotes. But it's just, I don't know, I mean, we can't dredge it, we can't put a berm, we can't, I don't know what we can do.
I would like to dredge it.
But our land is taken over by the water running through there, and, you know, then you've got sewage, it's affecting our land, our animals, our grandkids, our kids, so.
Mr. Lawyer,
So there, Bill.
give you a moment here, and then
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
have you connect offline.
Well, if you've looked downstream and confirmed there's no beaver activity, no beaver dams down there, I really don't have any recommendations. I don't know what to do either. The city doesn't have the authority to alter the creek, to change the stream.
Right.
I don't know that the homeowners, property owners have the right to do that either. I don't know that the property owners don't have the right to do that, okay?
Well, that's the answer that even the state gave me, the same thing. Although I did ask them, the guy at the state lands, I said, so as property owners, can we go in and dredge it? He goes, oh, no. And I said, well, then who owns that?
So a question I have for you is, when you say flooding, you say the water's coming up higher than it ever has, and I'm not doubting you, not disputing that. Does it drop back down?
It drops back down, but it leaves, it's now, there's a whole back area that's just nothing but silt, I guess would be, you know, from the, I guess is what you would call it. So there's no grass. The grass is gone. It's just, you know.
Well, let me come out and look around.
Yeah,
That's the best I can offer. I don't know that we're going to have a solution.
right.
I don't even know that I'm going to have a recommendation, but let me come out and look and see if I come up with something.
Well, I know like I said, when the ice storm, there was a lot of trees that came down. And of course, you know, the brush is there. We don't know what to do.
And I wanted to mention, when you mentioned the sewer spill, that was not directly related to the apartment project.
Right,
okay?
I know. But that's just where the article said it was, the article that I read. That's what
Yeah,
it said.
and that was from, and I don't want to diminish or minimize the sewer overflow, because they're all sewer and
Right.
it's not good. But in terms of a sewer overflow, it was not a very big one. That washed out. Thankfully, it was fairly wet then, a lot of rain.
Right.
So that washed out to
Yeah.
the Willamette quicker than it might
Yeah,
have.
no, I understand that,
But,
you know, I mean, you know, we've lived there 35 years, so we're used to the flooding. And, you know, in 96, there was flooding. This is flooding like back in 96. That's happening in like 2 days.
Well, I'll get a hold of you here the next couple
All right.
days, get out there and take a look and see if I can see anything or come up with any
Yeah.
ideas for you.
I appreciate that, Bill.
But
Well, we have one more question from Council President Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So one thing that I heard asked a few times in the testimony was, who's in charge of that area and who's responsible? And I heard that you were told we don't have authority over it, or we don't have authority over it. And I honestly start to get kind of flashbacks and reminiscent of Yellowstone's train station. Like, nobody's, like, it has no laws, it has no, like, there's an area. So what, who does oversee that? Who is responsible?
Not the Duttons. Sorry,
But
couldn't
it
pass that
kind of
up.
rings true, like,
That's a very good question, Council President, and honestly, I don't know that there is anybody responsible. I don't know if there's an agency that will take responsibility and regulate or dictate what can and can't
so
happen out
it kind
there.
of is the train station.
It kind of is no man's land.
Yeah.
And that's not just Claggett. Waterways in the state are that way. The Willamette's that way. The issue with the Willamette is it's much bigger, goes through a whole lot more of the state than Claggett Creek does. And because of its size, it kind of takes care of itself, okay? It washes things out that block it. Claggett has less of an ability to do that. So I know it's not a good answer. I know it's not anything anybody wants to hear, but it very well may be one of those situations that there's no regulatory government agency that can do anything.
So on the flip side, if I may.
Yeah.
Ms. Blaylock went out there to look from our environmental division. Would there be opportunities, once you've done a walkthrough, to look at possible habitat restoration and wetland mitigation in that area because of the change that may have happened with down trees and so forth? Our stormwater division has done some great work in that regard. I don't have to tell you, you know that. But it might be an opportunity to take another look at it from that lens.
It's something we can look at. And one of the things that I will keep in mind as I walk through there, I'm going to be looking for restrictions. What's blocking the flow?
Right.
You know, that, to me, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is something's blocking the flow of Claggett, not letting it drain out or get out to the river, or actually to Clear Lake and then to the river.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I'll look at right away. That's one of the first things I'll look for.
Okay.
And they may not be evident, it may be in the channel, and like Mr. Rodriguez said, can we dredge it? Well, there are ways to get permits to dredge waterways. Claggett's probably not one that's gonna be very easy to get that kind of permission, because dredging is usually for more navigable waterways to keep, navigation open. That's not gonna be a priority for Claggett.
Perhaps maybe if it's a wetland restoration or some project like we
Potentially.
did, because I remember years ago after the 96 flood, your department did a wonderful job up by McNary in doing some work with the wetlands in that area so they had better retention and drainage and so forth. So I think it would be a wonderful project if it was eligible for that kind of funding and project.
Certainly look into it, absolutely.
Fantastic.
Well, and I was in touch with, I think, Kaylee Westerman, with when they were going, because, you get the letter says they're going to be on your property surveying and looking at all the viable stuff or, whatever. And unfortunately, weren't able to connect on the day they walked through, but, everybody's familiar with the flooding. I mean, I know that, and, we are as well. The state told me nobody has responsibility. The state, they said it's like the train station. Well, I don't want the train station.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I would like to take matters in my own hand and dredge that section of my property. Because right now, the water is only maybe a foot deep.
Yeah.
The rest of it is nothing but mud.
It's just silted, so nothing grows back, but it floods faster and higher
Right.
than it ever has. And I'm not saying it's because of the apartments, and there's no beaver dams on that thing. Even the guy at the state, he pulled up whatever he did to look, and because there's no beavers. The coyotes have eaten everything down there. Anything that moves no longer moves, but we're just seeing if there's a resolution. And I know that there's the brush cutting, that needs to happen. Probably all of the neighbors, we need to go in and wipe that down so that it does have a path. But over the years, in our area right there, there's no creek. There's just water. Because there's no banks any longer. They've eroded. There's nothing. It's just it's not like it's over by the bridge by Shamawa, you know, where there's, you know, an actual creek, so.
Right. So I think this is going to be a bigger conversation for our environmental division to look at options for what does the wetland mitigation look like? What are some projects? Because I know we're going to be doing one on by Claggett Creek Park of a similar nature. So let's be hopeful that there might be some environmentally friendly options that we
Yeah.
can bring
Oh,
forward.
No, I appreciate that. That's why
Yeah.
we're here. I just don't know what else to do, so.
Thank you.
I didn't want to call you at home, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
You need the trace station, you know where it's at.
All right. Thank you. We're now going to go to administrative action. Item 8A is a resolution authorizing the mayor and council president to execute amended employment agreement for city manager. Ms. DePina.
Madam Mayor and City Council, the city manager and city attorney contracts are one-year contracts currently renewable annually by council approval. The term of the contract was brought up in the city manager's annual review, and the council approved working on a proposal to amend the term to be more consistent with other communities. The terms of the amended employment agreement were negotiated between the City Council and City Manager Brown with the assistance of the city's labor attorney and myself. The current contract expires June 30, 2024, but notice for extension must be sent by December 31st, 2023, which is just around the corner. The contract that we currently have with City Manager Brown began in March 2022, and it requires an annual evaluation before June 1st each year. However, it also says that before December 31st each year, the contract must be extended by the council. So even though the evaluation happens in June, the extension isn't done until another 6 months later. If the contract's not extended, it expires on June 30 the following year. During negotiations for the city manager's contract, he brought to the attention of the city he was concerned about the term of the contract being only a year. This was back when we were first hiring the city manager. A fixed-year contract is unusual, and a one-year contract is more unique among city managers within the state. The packet includes some information researched by both myself and the city manager that shows how other jurisdictions handle this, and the large majority do have contracts that do not have an expiration date. The city manager or the city attorney is also under the same one-year term at this time. Knowing the city attorney would be replaced in the next 2 years due to retirement, the city manager was told we could review that issue as we approached hiring the city attorney, so there wouldn't be a hindrance to replacing that position. At the city manager's most recent evaluation in June of this year, the city council agreed to work with the city manager to amend the contract term. And at that time, the city manager also asked for an amendment to section 2.04 titled Automobile, which is regarding mileage reimbursement for trips that are greater than 60 miles away. So at this time, what is presented in the packet, the changes in the contract do not preclude the city from terminating the city manager's contract at any time. There are details for separation in the contract. It doesn't change the performance evaluation requirements. The annual evaluation is still a requirement. And legal counsel explained legal liabilities and risks associated with a fixed term contract. And we are reducing risk by transitioning away from that type of contract. The request to adjust the mileage reimbursement is just for trips outside the proximity of Keizer. There are typically a couple meetings every year that the city manager attends, and for those meetings, he's had to pay for mileage out of pocket. The contract does include a vehicle allowance, so this is above and beyond that. And on December 11th, the city council met in executive session and directed the mayor to negotiate the terms of the contract. That contract is attached in the package. The city manager has signed the contract on December 13th. Unfortunately, I also just found an error in that contract, and so I would ask that the motion that is extended tonight includes an amendment to the salary listed on Section 2.01, as the salary listed was the salary when the city manager was originally hired, and it should reflect today's salary. Last but not least, changing to an indefinite term does not change any cost to the city. Again, we believe the legal liability risk is reduced because the indefinite term requires a release of all legal claims against the city. We think the mileage change will be maybe around $800 a year. And the timing is pretty critical on this. Again, if it's approved, the contract changes would be effective on January 1st, and we must extend the contract prior to December 31st or it expires in June. So with that, do you have any questions?
All right, thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, Council President Starr.
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R2023, authorizing the mayor and council president to execute the amended employment agreement for city manager and amend Section 2.01 compensation.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt Resolution R 2023, authorizing the mayor and council president to execute amended employment agreement for city manager as amended Section 2.01 to, and that was compensation. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed signify by saying no.
Abstain.
Is there a reason?
I wasn't here for the executive session.
Okay. Was there a question that was unanswered?
There's a lot of questions that I have that I just wasn't privy to, and so I'd just like to abstain.
Mr. Johnson?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the vote. Was it a no vote?
It's an abstention.
Abstain.
Abstention. Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Motion passes with 5 yes and abstention on the part of Councilor Kohler and Councilor Duran absent. Thank you very much. That leads us now to the consent calendar, our ginormous consent calendar. Everybody brace yourselves. Council President Starr.
The consent calendar item consists of item A, approval of November 20th, 2023 regular session meeting minutes.
That's it. Any reason to pull it?
We may have to talk about this for a while.
Council President Starr.
Yeah, no, Councilor Kohler. I move that the Keizer City Council adopt the really long consent calendar as printed.
Second.
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously. Other business, this time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new oral matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. Wood.
Thank you,
Staff
Madam
have
Mayor,
anything?
City Council. I'm not aware of any additional items. Thank you.
All right, councilors? All right, we will go then to staff updates. And we'll start with, I'm just going down the row, we'll start with Ms. DePina.
Thank you, no updates tonight,
Thank you very
except
much.
for Merry, Happy Holidays.
Thank you. Mr. Wood?
My only update is if you're looking for last minute shopping gifts, I would take 748 gallons of water. Every 748 gallons of water that you save will save you $4.35 in sewer charges each month for the rest of the year.
There we go.
That's it. Thank you.
That keeps on giving.
The trivial pursuit.
I love it. That's a great number. Ms. Bissett?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Chief?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Councilors. Exciting tomorrow morning. We are doing Coffee with a Cop from 9 to 11 at the Starbucks on River Road. I did get word tonight, confirmed through a little elf, that Santa Claus will be there passing out presents. So it should be super fun.
All right. Looking forward to it.
I should clarify, probably to kids, not adults. Sorry. Other than that, happy holidays.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Lawyer.
Nothing tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Witham.
Nothing tonight, Madam Mayor, thank you, but Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, all that stuff until we meet again.
All lungs aye. Mr. Johnson.
Nothing tonight. Happy holidays to all.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll now go to council reports for council members to present items for the city. And I'll start with Councilor Cross.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. December 6th, I attended the Oregon State Fair Foundation Board meeting. They're doing some great things. December 9th, Miracle of Lights, which was amazing. Great job, Chief. And everyone involved, especially the chamber. December 11th, I attended the Salem Chamber Monthly Forum Luncheon. December 13th, the Keizer Chamber Board meeting. And December 14th, the Latino Business Alliance Pan Dulce. And then after, I went to Whitaker and accepted a check with Executive Director Corey Pilardo and Jill Gust from the student leadership. They had raised $1,000 for the Keizer Network of Women Giving Baskets. There you go. Happy holidays.
All right, thank you very much. Council President Starr.
Nothing to report tonight, and just wishing the Keizer community a very safe and happy holiday and New Year. Don't drink and drive.
Hear, hear. Councilor Kohler.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. There's just a couple things. First of all, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Angie Brown, our city manager's wife. It's her birthday today. And there will be no community dinner this month as scheduled. We didn't have one scheduled for this month. Just to remind everybody, don't show up and go, hey, dang, I'm hungry. And just I appreciate a couple people that attended a couple of meetings for me the last 10 days or so when I went back to Indiana University and watched my son graduate with a master's degree. I appreciate that happening. It was a great event. It didn't even rain on us, and it was 50 degrees back there. It was warmer there than it was here. Unusual for Indiana, but very beautiful opportunity, and I appreciate the support of people helping me do that. And
Congratulations.
my wife would say bah humbug, but I'll say Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Councilor Hussman.
Happy holidays, everyone. Stay warm and dry. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I happened to go to Target on December 9th and saw the Shop with a Cop festivities happening. And that was very well attended. Not only our Keizer cops, but we also had county sheriffs and law enforcement from many places, and it was just such fun watching them go through the toy section with the kids, and it was just a really great community activity. So, and we mitigated shoplifting for those hours too, so that was a good thing too. So yes, thank you very much for your efforts in that. That was lots of fun. I went to a lunch and learn on diversity, equity, and inclusion lived experience with the Community Action Agency, and heard Dr. R.W. Taylor tell about his experiences growing up in Topeka, Kansas, and he went to the same school that was represented in Brown versus the Board of Education, and just an amazing life and some just incredible stories that he had to tell. So really enjoyed that. Also with the Community Action Agency, tomorrow I will be going on a tour of the Home Youth Drop-In shelter in Salem. So looking forward to that. It's nice to be able to do things during the day since I'm on vacation. So, and then I went to all three of the band, orchestra, and choir concerts at McNary, and they were quite fabulous and lots of fun. And the Keizer Community Band concert is coming up this Wednesday, and I will be there as well. So just lots and lots of fun festivities going on in the season, and I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you very much. Youth Councilor Woodard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This past week, I was talking to Ms. Connolly at the College and Career Center at McNary, talking about filling up the positions for youth liaisons on the different committees within Keizer, and talking about making graphics and sort. And then after the New Year's, I plan on reaching out to people, trying to get those positions filled with people, competent people, as fast as possible.
Yes.
And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thank you.
Councilor Reed, follow up?
Thank you. Do you happen to know anything about the Adopt a Salt program and how many families were served in that and the efforts that went on?
I
for
don't,
that?
sorry.
Okay. Well, that was done through McNary's leadership class, and they served many families in the Keizer area, and lots of classes were involved in collecting those materials as well, so.
Thank you. And thank you for taking on the work of recruitment for our youth liaisons to our committees and commissions. And if you can help establish a protocol that they can follow on year after year, that would be really amazing. So
Sounds good.
thank you for taking that.
Thank you, Sam.
Just a couple of things to add tonight. The 6th, I met with the Council of Governments Legislative Committee. As you know, we are focusing on the results or the problems that have erupted because of Measure 110, which Chief tells us, and we all know from our communities, it's impacting Keizer, and Keizer will be part of that solution, which is what we do. So I'm involved with those conversations, and we'll continue to work together to bring solutions to our community, so we won't have to deal with the outfall of some legislation, actually the measure that is not working the way I think people intended. Verlaine project, we had the open house on the 7th. Over 40 people attended. Great job, Mr. Lawyer, and the ODOT staff. Great graphic describing the entire project from end to end. And I just love that the approach is property by property, person by person by our staff. That's how we get these projects done, take care of each of the individual properties, answer questions. So when we go to construction, people know what to expect. So thank you so much for that. It was a great job. On the 8th, Council President Starr and I and City Manager Brown met with Senator Wyden's field representative, Karina Perez Europa, who lives here in Keizer, and had conversations about how to get funds for projects right here. Talked about some projects that we would love to have be the recipients of what is now called congressionally directed spending. The old word was earmarks, but I guess that's an old term. But whatever they call it, as long as it's green and we can spend it, we'll take it. So we want to continue those conversations. And then I would like to thank KBZY Radio for including Keizer each month. It's my pleasure to be on that station to share about what's happening in the community of Keizer. Lastly, I want to thank all of the people who have been on the broadcast of Coffee with Kathy this year. Betty Hart from the Fire District, Corey Filardo and Jane Lowry from the Keizer Chamber. Also, James Hutchins, when he was the chamber president. Ramiro Navarro, who represents us on Chariot's board. Latino Action Committee and local pastor, Jose Dominguez. Diane Watson, who is one of our representatives to the Chemeketa Education Board. And so many of the guests who are on the program this year. It was a great way to get the word out to the community, what's happening and how our partners are working together to serve all of us together. So thank you to all of them. Just coming up, we do have a Council of Governments board meeting on tomorrow. It's already Tuesday. And Councilor Duran will be joining us in that meeting talking about the Community Development Partnership Board. So looking forward to that. And as we've all said, a very happy holiday and Merry Christmas to everybody. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought somebody else was going to mention this, but I think it would be a shame not to mention the hundreds and hundreds of man hours put into the parade, the giving baskets, and all the rest of that stuff by the chamber and other people in our community. I was out of town for that and wasn't able to help this year, but I saw pictures. I saw a lot of comments on Facebook. An amazing effort that the chamber and the community does on our behalf, and just a special thank you for everybody that was involved in that.
Hear, hear, and it did not rain on our parade. How about that? It was going to be a deluge, 1.5 inches rain. It was just going to pour. Step off, no rain. It was fantastic. So, and great crowds out there.
Lori has power.
She knows who to talk to. All right, let's go to the agenda input. Our next council meeting will be next year on January 2nd, which is a Tuesday. We'll meet at 7 p.m. in regular session. January 8th, we will have a council work session discussing the utility services utilizing our right-of-way and the communications licensing laws. On January 16th, also a Tuesday, we will then meet in regular session. On Thursday, January, it says traffic safety meets on Wednesdays. Is that correct? Or Thursday? Thursday. So that would be the 19th. Is that correct? Oh, no, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. My bad. Okay, just read it, Clark. Okay. January 18th, on Thursday, we will meet in a joint city council work session with the Traffic Safety Bike Ped to talk about the neighborhood traffic management program. And then on January 22nd, we will have a review of our short-term goals. It's a mid-biennium check-in on our short-term goals, which are posted over here. And that is all I have for that, and we'll bring that up later. It's February. That is all I have for tonight. Is there anything else that someone would like to add for the good of the order? All right. With that, the time is 7:56. Happy holidays, everybody. We are adjourned.